shutdowns, threat of layoffs, farmers, and tariffs. There's so much happening that, it's impossible to condense them all in one video. I believe that there are people who do an excellent job of consolidating all of this, like Heather Cox Richardson, and she issued an amazing letter from an American today. And it really speaks to a lot of the things that I will be talking about, and I've put her in the reference box. So check out her letter. But today I am going to talk in this video about the shutdown that's looming and the threat of layoffs. So Donald Trump is threatening to lay off, permanently fire federal officials, federal government officials, federal workers, if Congress does not pass a continuing resolution to fund the government. And as it looks like right now, that may be a problem because of the conflict that has come up between Republicans and Democrats about the concessions that the Democrats should rightfully ask for and are asking for. And I will read you this excerpt from ABC that pretty much sums up why Democrats say that they're not going to go along with this funding, this continued resolution to fund the government. And the article reads, Democrats want to use the funding deadline as leverage to secure healthcare-related wins and to restore cuts to Medicaid made by the One Big Beautiful Bill that Republicans passed in July. There's a lot of healthcare provisions that Democrats outlined in their counterproposal that was rejected by the Senate last week, including the expansion of expiring Obamacare tax credits for federally backed health insurance premiums and the reversal of Medicaid cuts that were signed into law under Trump's mega bill in July. The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office estimated that the Democrats' health care proposals would cost $1 trillion over 10 years. Democrats have said that they're willing to negotiate with Republicans, so this package should be viewed as an opening offer and not a set of red lines. So Democrats have repeatedly insisted they must secure healthcare-related wins to approve a funding package, but they have not yet been explicit about what specific wins they must secure in order to keep the government funded. So the Democrats' ask is that you keep Americans' health care at a reasonable cost. That's me just summarizing that for you, as opposed to letting tax credits expire on federally backed health insurance, and then the cuts to Medicaid that will kick in next in 2026 after the election. But there are many provisions that will start having an impact, a domino impact, once the bill goes into effect. But in the months preceding that, just as a preemptory way of going about it, the hospitals and areas may just announce that they're going to shut their operations down at a later time, just to give the community notice. So, and I believe that cause is a just cause to say, oh, okay, you will shut down. And I believe that that Trump's regime is saying that we will just lay off federal employees, and that seems to not have that much of an effect right now because Donald Trump has already fired and rehired so many federal employees that Democrats are now saying in the Senate that we're not going to call that bluff. And if he does fire people, he has to rehire them back, like many courts have said, and that the government has also gone out and hired people because they realized that they needed these people, and they were summarily and fired by mistake, and it was an error on the government's part, and they have been rehired, and so that's where this mess now sits. We don't know what will happen in the last minute, and I feel like I'm just kind of sick of this stopgap funding bill thing, and I think it's an emblem of the times that we have, that we cannot, as people of one party or another, trust one another enough to move forward with new spending resolution as opposed to a continuing resolution. And I think it's just a mess, and I think it's unfortunate that you're going to keep people on edge, and the amount of resources it takes for the government to shut itself down also costs American taxpayers money. Now a little bit about the farmers and tariffs. Well, remember, farmers, a lot of them had upgraded their farms according to the previous administration's promise of reimbursing them for upgrades made by farm subsidies that were part of the renewable energy projects. And Donald Trump, when he came into office in 2025, immediately froze all of those funds. And that is what's caused farmers to have such a hard time, because they've already spent money that the government was supposed to pay them back, but that money Donald Trump has either already rescinded by the rescissions package in the last rescissions package that Congress passed, which I think is a shame and a relegation of Congress's authority of spending and prioritization of spending, and or it may be just being impounded at this point, and being pocket rescissions are happening to stop. So I don't really know exactly where that money is, but it is not going to the farmers. So as a remedy to that, Politico reports that Trump said, we're going to take some of that tariff money that we made, we're going to give it to our farmers, who are, for a little while, going to be hurt until the tariffs kick into their benefit, Trump told reporters in the Oval Office. So we're going to make sure that our farmers are in great shape, because we're taking in a lot of money in the tariffs sector. So essentially, Donald Trump is going to silence the farmer community and please his voter base there by bailing them out with money that he says he will get from the tariffs, or we don't know exactly where he's going to get that money from, but he says it's going to come from the tariffs. But keep in mind, despite the fact that a lot of money has come in from the tariffs, number one, Donald's spending has been so high in defense and in the DHS that even by bringing in new tariffs, it hasn't really brought in a surplus. And number two, the federal courts have deemed Donald Trump's tariffs to be invalid. The federal circuit, the appellate court for the federal circuit held that Donald Trump used the wrong law, because the International Emergency Economic Powers Act does not give the president power to tariff. Regulate does not mean tariff. And AIPA only allows you to regulate and not tariff. And SCOTUS has this hearing on November 5th. I don't know why SCOTUS has waited this long. But in the interim, as Professor Richardson reports, today Donald Trump announced new tariffs of 100% on pharmaceuticals, 50% on kitchen and bathroom cabinets, 30% on upholstered furniture, and 25% on heavy big trucks beginning October 1st. And just as Donald Trump announced that, the Indian stock market and the pharmaceutical companies' stocks went down because India is a big exporter of pharmaceuticals to the United States. And I talked about this in one of my previous videos when Donald Trump started imposing tariffs on India. So, you know, we are in a place right now where Donald Trump is promising farmers that he's going to pay them subsidies by taking money from the tariffs that he's getting, but his tariffs have been ruled invalid by the Federal Appeals Court and is waiting to be heard by the Supreme Court. And in the meantime, he imposes more tariffs on products that's going to further strain America's relationships with India and with other countries that would otherwise be allies of the United States. I don't really know where we get kitchen furniture from. So, I mean, if you look at IKEA, you could say from Sweden, but I don't know how many people can say that most of American furnitures come from Sweden. I don't think that's the case, so I'm not going to speculate. But with that said, I wanted to give you an idea of like this boisterous environment where there are these promises by the government, and tomorrow I will do a video on the declaration against Antifa and then the memorandum of political violence that Donald Trump has issued. And I'm going to go really into that specifically. But for today, I will leave it at check out my sources. That the references has all the information that I've talked about right now. So you can check them out in the references section. If you have any questions, comments, please leave them in the comment box. And I thank you for listening. Take care. Remember to like, share, and subscribe.